Hey everybody. Hi. And thank you, Sneha, again for inviting me over. And this is, I think, like the third or fourth event I'm doing with Tezos India, and I've always had a lovely experience here. Um, anyway, it's a good time, I think, to for blockchain especially, and I know that the theme of women in blockchain and all of that. I'll actually just touch upon certain aspects of that as well. Um, and I think I can just start sharing my screen. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just get started about kind of my journey, where we were, and how women, especially women in blockchain, kind of has helped me in my journey. And in fact, in this list that we see, I have had three women bosses, and all of them have actually kind of been the founders or executive leadership positions in each of them. So I started my blockchain journey in 2015, when blockchain was quite new and crypto was not as well accepted as right now. I mean, we see IPL ads and everything right now, but in I think in 2015 we had we'd actually kind of look over our shoulder to say, hey, like if we say we're working in blockchain or crypto, people would always ask things, but why? I mean, isn't that illegal? Isn't that unethical? And such questions just as early as 2015, 2016. And one of the main reasons I believe that there was a lot of negativity and everything is because of a clear lack of education. And I think that is one of the most important kind of things that we would need, because education is of paramount importance, because otherwise people kind of tend to get the wrong ideas about what it is. Because if let's say the time and the, let's say, the curve of education that is required is, if let's say in 2015 we had a lot of positive reinforcement and positive education about blockchain and about cryptos and everything, by now I think possibly India would be one of the leaders in outward blockchain technology, as opposed to just kind of fringe groups. Yeah, of course there are a lot of people who are trying to kick up the ecosystem, but I think perhaps the consequences could be a lot sweeter, I would say. Anyway, so I actually kind of started working for blockchain in 2015, with an Indian slash Singaporean company. Um, Sorry. And then I joined Everex, which was another remittance company. So the journey I would like kind of see here is, it was mostly uh, business to kind of, I mean, B2B to kind of B2C, and right now I'm back to kind of B2B slash B2C. So Everex was a blockchain remittance firm built on Ethereum, because I think 2016, 2017, Ethereum was perhaps the only chain that there were decentralized apps and anything that was kind of happening in that space. So nothing other than Ethereum was even looked at as a viable alternative even. So Abrex and Neuron Chain, both of them were kind of built on Ethereum. They were layer one, layer two solutions on Ethereum, and things were happening. I think around 2019, 2020 is when a lot of dApps started building on a lot of other, let's say, chains, where there was a significant progress. So the last two, ADEX was one of those bigger kind of companies. Was funded by the government of Singapore, and it was, let's say, a marriage of blockchain versus private equity. So we were actually doing a lot in the private banking space, private equity and private market space, but using blockchain as a layer, especially with fractionalization of real estate and all of that. My latest role and my current role I'm the director of marketing at Kalamint. Kalamint is uh, one of the biggest NFT marketplaces out there, and we are built on Tezos. And so we're close to 1 year of being in launch right now, and we have over 250,000 users and almost around $5 million worth of transactions in the last year alone. So that's been my journey, and one of the perhaps one of the biggest things that I would perhaps look at it is in the first couple of years of my career in blockchain, especially, a lot of people were skeptical, and the perhaps in the last 2 3 years people have been more curious, and right now people are excited. So I think we are getting into that inflection point where blockchain is not just for the fringe group, it's for everybody, and I think that's the good part about where we are and where we are going. Okay, so blockchain marketing, right? So I have been in marketing before. I've been in blockchain marketing right now for the last 6 7 years, and right now I head marketing here. One of the major, let's say, things that I have seen around blockchain is especially it's very different from a normal marketing channel or an idea that we could have. What I mean by that is, for example, a normal marketing, you would have, let's say, like a social media marketing. You'd say, oh, we need to get some ads on Facebook. We need to get some ads on Google, and we optimize that and we figure out how we can kind of grow the brand. But that is one of the things that is almost entirely impossible with any blockchain based company, is because everything we're looking at and all our efforts are either directed at very niche specific things, like, let's say, like Telegram or on Discord, or a little bit on Twitter as well. So the traditional rules of marketing are not the same. So it's kind of a challenge, but it also has its own fun, because it's building a community. So you're talking to your end users directly all the time, and it's all personal level marketing, right? So because it's never too far away, not bound by geography. So that's one of the other things is, um, because the any most of the solutions on blockchain or on crypto is never only for a certain geography. It's not limited by geography. I mean, apart from the exchanges, I can't think of another use case which actually only says that, yeah, you know what, it's only going to be for this country or only going to be for this region and things like that. So that's one of the major apparent advantages of something like in a blockchain marketing, which is both its pro and a con, is because that way, like, you're just talking to everybody all the time. So whatever you put out now, let's say, as whatever you have as a, let's say, social media post, that is the same post that's being read by somebody in India, let's say somebody in Japan, somebody in Argentina, somebody in the US as well. So it needs to adapt for that particularly. What that means is, now let's say the any form of communication, let's say it should be more action driven rather than, let's say, using more words, because you're always limited by the barriers of language, and that should not stop you from kind of doing more. So our social media head, Neha, so she actually has figured out the secret sauce to that, where she's always like kind of figuring out what is required for the market at that point in time. So we have guides in a lot of languages, like, Korean, we have in Japanese and Spanish and all of that. But understanding who your customers are, understanding what you can do for them, and what we can do for them in the bounds or in the limited capabilities of a blockchain kind of a setup is absolutely important. For example, doing a Google ad is almost like almost impossible unless like you try very hard. And most of my users, like most of the users for Calamint, we don't even have their email address. So there is no way that we can even market directly. That brings me to my main point, which is the role of the community. So the role of the community is everything in blockchain. So the community can actually make a product or break a product. If your community is strong and they back you and they stand by you, you're going to do well. If not, then it's as good as just being dead. So the product is always the strength of the product actually is only can only be defined by the strength of the community in something like a blockchain. And this community is very strong. And what I think the word kind of community is overused sometimes, but what a community means is a group of people who are not the team, but the group of people who are not in the team, but are standing by your product and actually know your product and are helping your product grow because they just believe in whatever you're building. And that is not easy to build, because once you build it, it never goes away unless unless there is something that you're doing wrong. If you kind of maintain the strength of the community, I think the product actually grows in itself. So that is one of the secret sauce for any product marketing in the field of blockchain. Going to Kalamint. So what we have done, what we are doing, where we are going. So we were one of the first NFT marketplaces that was built on Tezos. And actually, we were the second, but we were one of the first. So we were the second marketplace, and we are like a year old right now. And in the year, we have actually like gone. I mean, we've seen a lot in terms of where we started, how we grew, and how we are kind of expanding right now, what we're doing, and all of that. So we have had over 250,000 users from uh, all the 193 countries plus 10 other territories, and we have almost I don't know, we have more, let's say, transactions in numbers more than, let's say, one of the biggest ones like Super Rare and Known Origin and all of them combined. And that's the beauty of building it on a chain like Tezos, because it's a limited proof of stake chain. The good part is it's a liquid proof of stake chain, so you are not limited by how much money you need to pay to get started on the network. For example, like the gas fees in Tezos are almost negligible, or almost like zero, and the transactions that whatever the NFT minting, all of that is so low. So, and that is one of the reasons why we have a lot of our artists and creators, especially from let's say the historically not so rich countries. We have a lot of users from South America. We have a lot of users from Indonesia, Vietnam, Laos, where it's actually the minimum wages are very low, and they are actually looking at NFTs and blockchain as a viable alternative of income, and they are actually redefining the gig economy or the creator economy as we know it. So Tezos is excellent for that, and so we are we are very glad that we kind of built on Tezos. And the other thing is we are one of the only few marketplaces which that is fully on chain. Fully on chain means that we write every data of the NFT directly onto the chain. So hypothetically, even if Kalamint shuts down, like all the creators, the buyers, all of them can access the NFTs directly from the chain, because Kalamint is just the UI part of it. And so that's mostly about Kalamint in general. Women and blockchain. So this is, I mean, I think this is what I'm quite excited to give my 2 cents on. One of the reasons I think I started with saying that 3 out of my 5 bosses in the previous companies have been women, and it is quite, you know, I would say there is some imbalance in, especially in the blockchain field, in the ratio of men to women. And I think there was a survey or a report that had come in a while back, especially on lack of women in STEM, or especially in coding or developmental levels. And after that, there has been like a huge uptick because there is a lot of things that can be done. And right now, possibly for every 10 applications that we get in terms of uh, developers, around three of them are women, right? So that is still a number which is possibly lower. But the good part is, out of every 100 applications that we require as artists on Calamint, because Calamint you need an application to actually get verified and then mint. Out of every 100 applications we receive, around 50-55 of them are women. So there is a lot of, I think, equality in the NFT space itself, especially in the NFT space, from the confluence of art and artists, but especially in the blockchain part of it, from the employability perspective, I still believe that there is uh, actually a dearth of women in the ecosystem, and I think that needs to be fixed. Number two is start early, right? So start early is essentially, what I mean by that is the curiosity needs to be met with right education. So I actually did one of these seminars with a group which actually does it only for kids from rural parts of India, where they want to kind of educate them on blockchain and uh, its apparent advantages and employability. So they're teaching them the skills of blockchain. And we will be having interns from this uh, this organization called Pragati. So they are actually going to be giving us a couple of interns, and we are going to get them entrenched in the blockchain ecosystem quite early. And those are the things that have to happen more, especially let's say with in early, meaning like in school, and then through college, and then right after college into the employability workspace. So that's something that is like, and I actually kind of, let's say, put this everywhere, that I tell saying that everybody believes that, oh, if you have to be in blockchain, you need to understand the tech, you need to be a coder, you need to be a developer. I say that is absolutely, absolutely not right, because of a successful organization. For example, I'm not a developer, right? Like, so I've been in blockchain for 6-7 years right now, and I've never written a line of code. So it's actually, that's a myth where we say that, okay, unless you're not very technologically savvy, you'll not get it, and unless you know somebody in the industry, absolutely not. And so you will get it in if you can do enough research, enough understanding, and if you're curious, you just need to kind of turn to the right place where you can actually find some relevant guidance. And everybody's always there to help. That's one of the good things about entering the world of block, source of strength as opposed to as a competitor. So there are a lot of non-tech opportunities which thrive in the blockchain ecosystem as well. Self-learning is extremely important. One of the disadvantages, we say, college courses or school curriculum lessons that teach you about the blockchain. So self-learning becomes kind of necessary because, well, there's no other alternative. So but self-learning is is kind of very important. Where if you go to the right guides and go through the right channels, it's always possible for getting onto the space of growth and to thrive in the blockchain ecosystem. Last slide before I open up for Q&A. The future of crypto, right? Like I'm looking at it more as future of blockchain. So more use cases. So NFTs were like one big use case. So of course we need to look at more use cases to kind of help the blockchain ecosystem to figure out, okay, what else can we do? What else could we do? And so the enterprises and corporations integration become like a very, very big thing. So NFTs were possibly the first incidents where a lot of brands and a lot of companies experimented, and NFTs are the first crypto native application built. So there is no non-blockchain NFT, right? So it was a solution built only for the blockchain, and there have been a lot of enterprises being actually integrated into the crypto ecosystem through NFTs. So use cases like that build a lot of enterprise integration and cooperation, which will actually help the ecosystem. It should always be built from the ground up, meaning what I mean by that is it should not be a force fit. And so the future of blockchain will always be indebted to people actually building solutions, like the number of creators, the number of entrepreneurs, especially in just from India, the number of blockchain entrepreneurs here are massive. Like a lot of people are building in a lot of solutions. So that's a very healthy sign of where we are at and where we are going to be going as well. And the last point is basically to educate and train for the right skills. So which means that there is always going to be a lot of divergent, let's say, paths or divergent education per se, but training and getting educated for the right skills, I think that's going to be defining crypto 2.0 as we know it, or let's say the next 10 years in crypto is all going to be based on corporate and enterprise integration, which are built for certain solutions with a lot more use cases. I think that's my time. So any let's say any questions, Q&A, whatever, either on Kalamint or on any of the slides that I gotten, please feel free to share, and I will be giving you the answers for that. Thank you, Sneha. Back to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Pradeep, for sharing wonderful insights about the Kalamint and about your journey, and also how important it is to have a strong community. And also it's good to know that there's a equal amount of participation in the NFT space from women too. I think it was a wonderful session. I will keep the session open for a quick Q&A from the audience and see if you have any questions coming from their end. If not, then we can wind up the session.
As I see, there are no questions right now. Okay. So I guess we can go ahead with winding up the session. The thank you note.
Yeah, once again, thank you so much, Pradeep, for taking up the session, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.